it is any surprise to any of you that 2016 was a bit of a rough year in more ways than one. For example, we saw an incredibly toxic presidential election, racial disparity, the death of many beloved musicians, actors, celebrities, and social icons, tension between world superpowers worsened, horrific terrorist attacks, increasing turmoil and tragedy in the Middle East, slayings of dozens of police officers. I think you get the gist. It seems that the country we live in today is the most divided it has been in nearly half a century. The world we live in has continued to become more and more perilous. It seems as if things couldn't get any worse at this point. But my intention isn't to send you into hiding or to make you sad. In fact, my intention is quite the opposite. We as God's people are called to spread the good news of His Word to all people on this earth. But how can we do this in such a hostile world? And how can we overcome a year like 2016? The answer is quite simple. It might sound redundant, but we as Christians must stand firm and hold on to our faith that God is in command, and through His Word, good will triumph over evil. We should also take solace in that regardless of how bad things might get, God is with us. Deuteronomy 31:6 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you or forsake you." When Jesus began teaching, the Jewish people were in the midst of some troubling times themselves. For example, Isaiah 24 tells of a time where earth is polluted by its very own people, who have broken its laws, disrupted its order, violated the sacred and eternal covenant. Therefore a curse, like a cancer, ravages the earth. To me, that doesn't sound like a very good time, especially when you were part of the Christian faith during this time. It wasn't a very easy time to live in to worship God. Chaotic cities are unlivable, and anarchy reigns. To me, it kind of sounds a little bit familiar to what we're seeing in some parts of the world today. But there's some good news. It goes on later to say, "But there are some who will break into glad song. Out of the west they'll shout of God's majesty. Yes, from the east God's glory will ascend. Every island of the sea will broadcast God's fame, the fame of the God of Israel. From the four winds and the seven seas we hear the singing, all praise to the righteous one." The Romans during this time were firmly in control, and their policies were less than conducive to the Jewish faith, as anyone who openly proclaimed to follow Jesus and accept His teachings was persecuted. I know this is old news to you, but have you ever stopped to think about what if the followers of Jesus had given up during this tough time, and what would have become of Jesus and His movement? Their situation may have been dire, and the world around them may have seemed bleak, but they remained steadfast in their faith to God. Jesus reminded them that although the Romans may have appeared to be in control, that God still reigned and held His people in His hands. In doing this, Jesus reminded His people that they should never relinquish their faith in God's kingdom and that better days were ahead. Jesus' teachings can be applied to today as well. Let's face it, the world we live in isn't all sunshine and rainbows. But are we not children of God? And are we not followers of Jesus? A cornerstone of the Christian religion is holding on to God's promise that He will never abandon us and that He will make all things right. Therefore, we must remain faithful in God and trust in His ability to stand with us. Growing up, I was always told that regardless of what situation I might find myself in, whether it be in sports or in school or in life in general, the two things that I have control of at all times are my attitude and my effort. In the world today, our attitudes can and should be positive. We cannot allow ourselves to succumb to the temptation to wallow in sadness and cower in fear and face the turmoil that overwhelms today's society. And our efforts should be directed at doing everything we can do to make the world a better place. Every day, we should make a concerted effort to make someone's day better or to give to others charitably. It may seem small and insignificant, but that's how change is made. If we as Christians truly want to make this world a better place, then we must be united in our uniform belief that God is in control of our lives and is present in the world, despite how bad things may seem. This is truly the only way significant change can be created. In retrospect, 2016 wasn't all bad. Here's a list of some of the good things that occurred during 2016. World hunger reached its lowest point in 25 years. The Americas were declared measles-free. The number of colon cancer deaths in the United States decreased, as well as the rates of heart disease and dementia. 2016 was the second safest year in aviation history. Multiple animal species, such as the giant panda and the humpback whale, were removed from the endangered species list. And more than 50 million trees were planted in tropical rainforests and depleted jungles, just to name a few. It's obvious that some good came of 2016. God made some things right. We should rejoice in knowing this. These things are living proof of God's work. 2017 provides us with a new opportunity to improve our world and to right the wrongs that have been committed. This task may be daunting, but with God's help, what can't we do? Though it may be cliche, with this new year comes a new beginning. For us as Christians, we can use it to better ourselves and to better our communities. We should embrace this and use it to our advantage and proactively seek to make this world a better place. Despite what the news may suggest, this world can be changed for the better. I'm confident in this. But it all starts with us. We are the very foundation of what Change for the Good is comprised of. Using our unwavering faith in God and His plan and awesome power, we can successfully bring about real change. 2016 was undoubtedly a year that created great challenges in numerous capacities. But better days are ahead. God has a plan for us all, and however difficult things may get, we can always rely on Him to help guide us through. So if for some reason 2017 becomes more or less a repeat performance of 2016, have faith in God and have confidence in His ability to create good out of bad situations. Understand that God will never forsake you, and know that God's eternal love for us all and His people will see you through the best and the worst of times. 2017 is a new year. Let's make it the best. Thank you.